Scene 3. A New Path. For the next 6 straight shows, HRROLL felt as if he was running for his life and fighting for his life. Every night in every city there was a gangster that didn't agree with AP's lyrics, and AP would never back down. He would go on stage on the mic and call out those who didn't agree with his lyrics. One night after HRROLL finished putting in some work on a dude for trying to stab AP after a concert, he thought he was the one victim of gun violence as a bullet just grazed his head. "This ain't the life for me," HRROLL would repeat to himself day in and day out while he was in the shower. After their show in Texas, AP witnessed the real side of his cousin as there were girls lined up outside of their tour bus. Yoka's AP called for HRROLL, as HRROLL now sprung up to his feet to assist his cousin in whatever it was that he needed. "Yo, let's go outside really quick and check out some of these girls." HRROLL followed behind his cousin as he opened the door of the tour bus. Immediately girls began to scream AP's name. One girl even shouted loudly, "AP, you're the sexiest man in the world." AP turned to his cousin. "We can have whatever we want. Let's choose the baddest joints out here and bring them inside of the bus." HRROLL smiled at first at the idea because he did love having some fun while on tour. But lately, he was growing tired and deep down, he missed Reese. HRROLL couldn't help but to think about Reese each time after a fan of AP's would leave the hotel or the tour bus after they got busy. "Bet," HRROLL replied as both of them now schemed for the cutest girl. "Nah, shawty, you G like ugly," AP said to a girl who was just asking for an autograph. HRROLL couldn't help but to notice how much his cousin had changed the fame, and the money was really getting to his ego. "But all I wanted was an autograph," the girl uttered out sadly, but AP ignored her as he had his sights set out on a group of girls who resembled models. "Y'all 4 can come get on," AP said as he made the other girls who were waiting on him part like Moses when he parted the Red Sea. The 4 girls made their way onto the tour bus, but when they got on, they immediately wanted to get off after seeing how many guys were on the tour bus looking at them as if they were on a grill. "Oh no," one of the girls said as AP asked, "What's wrong? Why y'all leaving?" One of the other girls turned around now angry and spoke. "What do you think we are, some high school hoes? Please, the dudes in there look disgusting. We thought we were going to vibe with you and let you listen to our new song." AP, who would say anything to have his way, said, "That can still happen. Let's just go in there with and vibe." The same girl who spoke up the first time now replied to AP's suggestion by saying, "So, are they leaving because I can't even hear myself think so? I doubt you would be able to hear our music, or can we get like a hotel? Are y'all sucking?" AP asked arrogantly. HRROLL shook his head in anger at AP's comment that these girls actually looked like some cool girls who, if AP was smart, he could have actually done business with them, but he was so worried about having sex. The same girl who had been replying and responding to AP now said, "F you. You short-ass wanna be a player, ain't nobody sucking nothing, and I bet you don't even have nothing to suck. Anyways, the dude next to you is way cuter than your goofy, ugly ass." AP, who was now obviously embarrassed and who actually had a Napoleon complex, now shouted, "Get the hell off my tour bus then, before I pull the strap out on you." AP lifted his shirt to show his 9mm that rested in his jean pants underneath his belly button. The same girl who spoke up for her crew said, "Do you know where you're at? I got something for you," she said as the 4 girls hurried off the bus. AP slammed the door behind them and then said, "Fuck them bitches, man." HRROLL shook his head again at how AP had just ruined a perfect opportunity to build a relationship with these girls. "'Cause for real you're trippin', man. You know we gotta stay out here for another day. You don't know who them girls know out here," HRROLL said to AP, trying to talk some sense into him. But AP shot back. "Man, you sound scared," HRROLL replied. "Nah, I'm not, bruh, but we can't be moving recklessly out here." AP, who had a disgusted look on his face, shot back. "Or what? I don't think you listen to my lyrics, partner. I'm about everything I talk about, so if they want beef, tell them to bring the drama because we gone. Bring the hammers, you feel me?" His crew behind all cheered like yes men as they began to start showing off their guns. But in actuality, they resembled boys playing with toys. The crowd that was outside of the tour bus had already dispersed as HRROLL stepped outside to smoke a cigarette. He was stressed and he knew he needed another opportunity. Maybe he would call Cookie Lemons and see if he could possibly work for her. HRROLL thought to himself with each drag he took from his cigarette, but as he glanced down the street, he suddenly noticed an all-black Chevy Tahoe immediately cut their lights when they noticed HRROLL looking at the car. "Drive by!" HRROLL shouted out loud so that the people inside of the tour bus could hear him as he jumped behind a dumpster. Seconds later, the sounds of gunshot ripped through the Texas silent night. HRROLL's eardrums felt as if they were about to burst as the tour bus was showered by bullets. Seconds later, the black Tahoe sped off. HRROLL was a bit scared to remove himself from behind the dumpster as he continued to look up the street where the Tahoe had just sped off. Moments later, HRROLL heard moaning coming from inside of the tour bus. "I'm hit!" HRROLL could hear AP yelling in a panic-like tone. "They shot me!" Hours later, HRROLL waited inside of Baylor University Emergency Room Hospital. A doctor who resembled the singer Brian McKnight appeared with a clip as they all waited for word on how AP was doing. The doctor took a deep breath and paused, then said, "Your friend AP, as you call him, will be okay. He just suffered a grazed wound to his left arm, but other than that, he should have a speedy recovery." "Wow, it's so many of you, I can only allow a few of you at a time." One night, AP came to HRROLL after a show and passed HRROLL a gun. "Yo, we have to put in some work on that new rapper, Young TJ's." HRROLL looked at AP confused. This was not what he signed up for. AP was taking his status to a whole new level. Instead of spending his time and money in the studio and promoting for his upcoming album, he was hiring gangsters to be around him, and those gangsters were doing a lot of other things that AP knew nothing about. HRROLL looked at his cousin again, now seeing a desperate look in his eyes. "Why?" HRROLL asked. "Why?" AP shot back. "Fool, because I told you so, and this needs to happen by tonight. I got the drop on cuz." HRROLL shot back at AP. "You buggin', I signed up to be your bodyguard, not your hitman." AP shot back, now furious. "Slim, you ain't sign up. I gave your begging ass an opportunity, but now you acting ungrateful. If you don't do it, I got it, but you're gonna have to find your own way back to DC. Because you're fired." AP yelled at HRROLL. HRROLL immediately snatched up AP by his collar, and before he could smack some sense into his cousin, AP's homeboys came barging in, and now breaking up the two. AP now yelled, "If you're not off this bus by the end of this week, I'm shooting your ass." What was HRROLL going to do now? He would be forced to go back to DC with no job, no money, nothing. But then he remembered that he still had the chain that Cookie Lemons had given to him. Maybe he could pawn in and use the money to get by. Or maybe he should take up boxing. Who knows what could happen if he took the sport seriously? Maybe he could make a career out of it. Later that night, HRROLL couldn't sleep as she stayed up, looking at the stars from the floor of the tour bus. Suddenly, AP and a few other guys barged inside of the tour bus, looking as if they had done something they shouldn't have. The next day, reports from MTV, and all the major YouTubers came out reporting that rapper Young TJ's had just been killed in a shooting. HRROLL knew that his cousin AP was involved. Friday came, and the bus stopped in Las Vegas, Nevada, and HRROLL made his way off the bus with a few things he had not known where he was going to go. HRROLL awoke with the time reading 6:30 a.m. AP and his crew were sound asleep as HRROLL exited the bus, now walking along a street road as cars sped past him. The sun had not yet arisen, making everything still dark. As HRROLL walked past many different closed businesses, HRROLL decided to stop at a gas station to buy something to drink. As HRROLL opened the gas station door, a man who was about 5 feet, 5 inches exited the store with an entourage that followed closely behind him as he walked. He then stopped when he made eye contact with HRROLL. The man reached down into his pockets and pulled out a crisp $20 bill and said, "Here, kid, buy yourself something to eat." Although it was a nice gesture, HRROLL felt somewhat offended. HRROLL and his family did not have much, but HRROLL never begged for a thing in his life. Everything he had, he earned for himself. But maybe the $20 could when he had to buy a one-way bus ticket to Washington, D.C., but pride overtook HRROLL, so he then responded, "I'm good, but can I ask you a question?" The man shot back, "Shoot for it, young brother," encouraging HRROLL to ask away with whatever question that he had, as the man's entourage now looked as if they were growing more impatient by the minutes. HRROLL did not waste any time on asking his questions before HRROLL could help it. The question came oozing out of his mouth as if he were saying a curse word. "What do you do?" HRROLL asked as he stared at the man's large gold-linked necklace. The man then laughed as he pointed to the billboard that was across the street. The sign read, "Tootie vs. Javier Maglina, Saturday, December 6th, 9 p.m. on HBO pay-per-view." HRROLL had not boxing on TV since his dad was competing, so he was out of touch with who was the next big thing in boxing, and HRROLL had been so caught up in HUEY's boxing career that he didn't seem to see the point of knowing who all these other boxers were if HUEY wasn't fighting them. HRROLL then responded, "Oh, so you're a boxer. Good luck on your fight this Saturday." Tootie Lights Out Walker immediately shot back, "Good luck?" Tootie doesn't believe in luck. Tootie believes that he is a God-given fighter, born to dominate any fighter in this era. "Kid, who are you?" Tootie now asked, sizing him up. HRROLL didn't know rather to now be scared or take the question as if Tootie was really interested in knowing who HRROLL was. HRROLL cleared his throat before he began to speak, not wanting his voice to quiver as if he were intimidated. HRROLL knew that no matter where you go in the streets, if some felt as if you were scared while they conversed with you in the streets, that could possibly lead to you possibly becoming food. My name is HRROLL Rankin Jr. I'm from Washington, D.C. Tootie's eyes opened wide as if he heard that his opponent dropped out for their fight this tomorrow. Tootie then said, "You not HRROLL Rankin boy, are you?" HRROLL, now a bit embarrassed about his relations to his father, came oozing out of him as he answered the question with his head down. "Yay, that's my pops." Tootie now yelled, "No way. You homeless or something?" HRROLL tried to respond, but the overly excited Tootie snatched him up and said, "Look, I don't know about your situation, and I really don't care. All I know is God don't make no damn mistakes. You meeting me is a sigh, young brother. I can tell you ain't doing shit with yourself, and that is a damn shame. Your father was a great boxer. That man is the reason why I am a fighter today. It's a shame what happened to him. But you HRROLL are different. You have the G. Ugh. What's that word again?" Tootie turned his head to ask one of the members of his entourage. Seconds later, a voice from behind him, which was one of his boys, came shouting out to save him. "It's genetics, yo, genetics." Tootie snapped his fingers as if he had thought of the word himself, then said, "Oh, yay, genetics. You have the genetics of your father, and that is a blessing. And you may even have his instinct and his punching power. But that doesn't mean that you have his addiction. Look, my fight is tomorrow. I am giving you a job, and if you have no place to go, you can stay with me until you make a name for yourself." HRROLL couldn't believe what he was hearing. "One more thing, everything from here you have to earn, so take this opportunity like it's your last. Your father did a lot of things for me as I was a jit growing up, so now it's time for me to do the same thing. Come on, we out." Tootie wrapped his short arm around HRROLL's shoulder and escorted him to his black Chevy Suburban, in which his driver was the one driving. Tootie then said, "We on our way to the gym to watch some young cats spar. You cool with that?" HRROLL shook his head as he hopped into Tootie's SUV, now making himself comfortable as he reached in his pocket and placed a cookie lemon chain around his neck. He was with a boxing star, so he had to look at part, HRROLL thought to himself as the car made its way to Right Hook's gym. A few months now had passed since HRROLL first stepped foot inside of Right Hook's gym. HRROLL had been training day in and day out, now slowly turning himself into a boxer. The first thing Javier Manuel did was teach HRROLL how to take a punch. Next, it was training his jaw and chin and temple to absorb the impact of a punch. Day in and day out, HRROLL went back to Tootie's house with black eyes, busted lips, and swollen eardrums. One night after HRROLL finished sparring a hard-hitting southpaw who went to town on HRROLL's body, throwing 3 vicious body shots to HRROLL's liver. When HRROLL went home to use the bathroom later that night, he noticed that he was pissing blood. All the aches and the pains would be eventually worth it, HRROLL told himself, as he would often find himself staring at the accolades that Tootie had earned for himself. Tootie had a big house, multiple cars, money in the bank, and everything a boxer could wish for in his career. The day before HRROLL was supposed to take a 3-week vacation to visit his sister Faye in Washington, D.C., was the day when his dream and his confidence in boxing was almost shattered. After sparring with a slick southpaw with the nickname Slick Harris, HRROLL ran into Slick's left hand that sent HRROLL's world crashing upside down as HRROLL felt Coach Juan Manuel splash cold water on his face to wake him up from being knockout cold. It was embarrassing that HRROLL got knockout in front of all the fighters at Right Hook's gym, but what made it even worse was that, although HRROLL had on his headgear, he still got put on the canvas. HRROLL could only imagine what would have happened if he would have taken that shot without his headgear. That night, as HRROLL caught his flight from Las Vegas, Nevada to Ronald Reagan Airport in Washington, D.C., HRROLL had the chance to reflect if the career was really for him. A few hours later, HRROLL was in an Uber, now passing the same familiar streets Huey and himself used to run up and down on as kids. Seconds later, the Uber stopped in front of HRROLL's apartment building, located in southeast Washington, D.C. Before HRROLL exited the car, HRROLL had a bad feeling about his return to his hometown. Maybe he should have stayed in Vegas, but he hadn't seen his sister Faye in months, and he was growing a bit homesick, missing his favorite food, which consisted of fried chicken, fries with a whole lot of mambo sauce. When HRROLL entered the apartment reeked of alcohol, while his father sat in front of the television with a lady friend of his. HRROLL Rankin Sr. would always say, after HRROLL Jr., and Huey would catch him with another woman other than his mother. HRROLL Jr. nearly dashed back out of the door, but he was already inside of the apartment and now HRROLL Jr. and his father were making eye contact. HRROLL Rankin Sr. turned down the volume of the television from the remote, then said, catching HRROLL Jr. by surprise, "Where in the hell have you been? Huh boy. I haven't seen nor heard from ya old narrow behind in months. And now you want to just walk your butt in here like you ain't got some goddamn explaining to do." HRROLL, whose intention was to spend a few days with his sister Faye before he headed back to Vegas, was now thinking to himself, why did he even make the trip to DC in the first place? He didn't come over here to fight with a drunk, but HRROLL Jr., who had always had a slight anger problem, shot back, now furious. "Man, I don't have anything to explain to you. I don't even know why you here. Anyways, I came looking for Faye, but if she ain't here, I'm gone." HRROLL Jr. now turned his back to walk out of the apartment door, but now he felt someone grabbing his arm when HRROLL spun around, and with cat-like reflexes, HRROLL Jr. ducked a left hook from HRROLL Rankin Sr. If the punch would have connected, HRROLL Jr. knew he would have been out for the 10 count. Without words, HRROLL Rankin Sr. now acted as if he was in one of his bouts in the early 90s as he walked HRROLL Jr. down, this time HRROLL Sr. through combinations, now tagging HRROLL Jr. first, a straight left to the body, then 2 jabs to HRROLL Jr. Philly shell defense, now catching HRROLL Jr. on his jaw, wham, instantly sending HRROLL Jr. to the floor as if he was in the ring. HRROLL Sr. then yelled, "Boy, get up. You want to be a tough guy, huh? It's your fault why your brother was killed. Because you want to walk around here with your chest up, like somebody owes you something. Punk, get up," HRROLL Sr. shouted. HRROLL Jr. stumbled to his feet while clutching his abdomen. Then HRROLL Sr. hollered, "You're gonna take this ass whooping like a man and never disrespect me again." Afterwards, throwing another fury of stinging straight punches to HRROLL Jr.'s head, causing HRROLL Jr.'s brain cups to pop out of place, now leaving HRROLL Jr. limped on the apartment floor, knocked out cold. When HRROLL Jr. had awakened, the television was still on, and liquor bottles were still scattered all over the place. The lights were still on. HRROLL sat up from his position on the ground. His head ached, and his body felt as if he had been stomped on by 10,000 soldiers. Immediately, HRROLL jumped to his feet on the defense, thinking that his father was still inside of the apartment. Suddenly, the front door opened behind HRROLL, now once again startling him. Faye, who was with her friend Reese, immediately dropped her groceries as she ran to give HRROLL a hug, followed by Reese. "What happened to you, bro?" Faye asked as she wiped the blood away from the top of his eyebrow with her t-shirt. Reese crossed her arms and looked at HRROLL as if she had already known what had taken place. Reese then said, "I told you, HRROLL, your cousin was going to get you into some mess." Reese had figured that HRROLL had gotten beaten up while with AP. "HRROLL, what happened to you?" "Look at you," Faye asked once again, but now her facial expression changed as if she had figured out her own question. "Was it Dad?" Faye asked, now holding her hands to her mouth as Reese continued to stand in the same position with her arms folded. HRROLL, who was embarrassed and angry that his sister and Reese had to see him like this, spoke with fire blazing in his eyes. "Give me an hour to clean up, and we're gonna go looking for him. Today this ends." "No, HRROLL, what are you saying?" Faye shot back, then said, "He's all we got." HRROLL, who was already furious, screamed, "He's been beating my ass, your ass, Huey's and Mama's ass for the last 10 years. Faye, I don't want to hear it right now. Give me an hour to clean up, and you are taking me to look for him. You hear what I'm saying?" HRROLL got inches to his sister's face before turning to the wall and placing 2 holes in the wall. Next, he spun around and grabbed his bag and entered the bathroom to freshen up. Hours later, HRROLL, Faye, and Reese sat inside of her maroon Chevy Tahoe in front of Frankie's Pub House in Bethesda, Maryland. HRROLL Rankin Sr. black 2-door Lexus coupe was parked in the parking lot. "Y'all stay inside the car," HRROLL said as he immediately exited the car. When HRROLL arrived inside the bar, he immediately spotted out his father, who was sitting in the back of the bar entertaining a crowd of women and men. HRROLL Jr. immediately walked over to the area where his father was sitting and saw a glass of wine sitting on the counter waiting for a waitress to serve the drink to its expected customer. HRROLL Jr. now snatched the drink from the counter and walked over to his father. As his father finished his last joke, HRROLL Jr. walked over to him and spoke, "Yo, I want to see you outside, punk." Then threw the drink at his father, hitting his father in the face with the glass. HRROLL Sr., now furious, looked up in rage as he wiped the drink from his face, now removing himself from his seat. The bar was now silent as HRROLL Jr. quickly walked outside of the bar, waiting for his father to come outside. A few seconds later, HRROLL Rankin Sr. was outside now saying, "Boy, I finna teach you a lesson. I thought I taught you one earlier, but you are so much like your mama. A stubborn little bitch." HRROLL Jr. noticed his father slurring his words, followed by him stumbling all over the place as if he had been drinking all day into the night. A crowd followed behind HRROLL Sr. to watch the once great boxer beat down this tall and scrawny kid. But before HRROLL Sr. could make another move, HRROLL Jr. caught him with a lead right hand followed by a left cross, tracked by two more straight right hands, causing HRROLL Sr. to fall backwards and was knocked out cold. Faye and Reese's, who were now rushing over, stopped dead in their tracks, as if they couldn't believe what they had just witnessed. The crowd outside of Frankie's pub house was now silent as they seemed to be in shock. "Come on, let's go," HRROLL Jr. yelled to Faye as Faye and Reese rushed back inside of her Chevy Tahoe and sped away. 3 years later, "HRROLL, there is a knock on your dressing room door," HRROLL heard his trainer, Javier Manuel, say to him. Javier Manuel had taken HRROLL under his wing after Tootie had introduced them in the gym, the same day after HRROLL had met Tootie. Now HRROLL was making a living in boxing with a perfect record of 15 professional wins with 0 losses and all 15 bouts ending by technical knockouts. This fight was the biggest fight of his career. He was getting the chance to fight for the WBC welterweight championship of the world. When the door opened, it was Faye, HRROLL's older sister, and Reese, who was now pregnant with HRROLL's child. Faye was sporting an airbrushed t-shirt that read HRROLL Rankin 15-0 new champion, and also that had an image of their late brother Huey. Faye spoke with tears in her eyes. "HRROLL, I am so proud of you regardless of what happens tonight." Reese smiled as she held her belly and said, "Yes, and little Huey Caesar Rankin Jr. is proud of you too?" HRROLL smiled and hugged Faye and kissed Reese. Then HRROLL said, "After tonight I promise our lives will change forever." "We got this." HRROLL smiled before Javier Manuel came over saying, "Okay, ladies, let the champ get some time to focus. You will have enough time to talk after we take care of business tonight." Faye wiped her eyes one last time and said, "Give me a hug one last time before you go out there." HRROLL embraced Faye as she whispered in his ear, "Do this for Mama and Huey." HRROLL looked at his sister with a serious look and gave her one last hug and fist bump. Afterwards, turning away from her as he now began to prepare for his showdown with Louis Boom Boom Jones. Boom Boom Jones was the #1 welterweight in the world, with an impressive record of 39 wins, 0 losses, and 25 KOs. 30 minutes later, the fight was over after a tough battle that went all 12 rounds. The two men stood waiting for the judge's decision. In the first round, HRROLL nerves got the best of him, which caused him to be floored by a check hook that he should have seen coming by Boom Boom Jones. The second round, Boom Boom Jones got overly aggressive, stalking HRROLL, throwing flurries of punches. It was clear Boom Boom Jones had money on this fight and was trying to end the fight early. Rumors even had it that AP, who was serving a 6-year prison sentence, had placed money on the fight as well. But against HRROLL, AP, who still was one of the hottest rappers in the game, the way he stayed on top AP was by collaborating with ghostwriters using AI technology to clone his voice. This allowed him to drop mixtapes every week behind bars. AP also had started his boxing promotions, AP Promotions, and invested in some of the boxers. Boom Boom Jones was one of them. But after the knockdown, HRROLL was determined to win every round in which it appeared. He did after stunning Boom Boom Jones in the 6th and 10th round. In the 12th round, an uppercut rung Boom Boom Jones' bell as he held on for dear life, but ultimately he was saved by the bell. But there was still no telling what could happen in boxing, in which judges could easily give the fight to the fighter who was taking the most punishment rather than giving it. The ring announcer, Richard Ricardo, spoke. "We like to thank these two men for fighting like true warriors, but there can only be one winner. But before we announce the winner, we would like to thank our sponsors, Showtime, AP Promotions, Silverboy Promotions, and the Las Vegas Fire Department." Judge Tillman scored the fight 116-113. Jones, the crowd cheered. As the announcer, Richard Ricardo, continued, Judge Manny Ross scored the fight 110-113 Rankin. And Judge Andrew Morales scored the bout 114-110 in favor of your winner, in a split decision, and the new welterweight champion of the world all the way from Southeast Washington, D.C., HRROLL Rankin Jr.